Hello everyone, I'm Carolyn Taylor, and I want to welcome you to Alive to Thrive, Living Spiritually with Cancer. This is a series of talks that we've come up with to help you and guide you along the emotional, spiritual, and physical path that we all face when we have cancer. Yet sometimes we're really not given the information that we need, at least not heart to heart. I want to say right up front, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a medical profession of any kind, I'm not even a counselor. I'm a cancer patient just like you. And these are all the things that I wish someone had told me from the heart as I began my journey, because I think it would have saved a lot of sleepless nights. It also would have helped me feel a little bit better that, gee, maybe this journey and what I'm going through is not necessarily me, but a lot of people are going through the same experiences. So with that in mind, we're going to start today's topic, which is traditional support systems. Absolutely everybody needs to have a support system when they go through cancer. And we always talk about the physical support system, which are doctors and the nurses and all that type of thing. But today I'm going to ask you a question that I had to ask myself, and that is, who's helping you navigate your emotions through cancer? It's a tough question. And if you ask traditional healthcare providers, you're going to get some very basic answers, and they're good ones. And I'm going to go briefly through those with you, and we're going to throw up a view graph so that you get to read along with me what those traditional systems are. We always start with family. Family's where we start to get that backbone, to get that help, and take a deep breath and say, we can do this. And the next layer down is friends. Oh, we have friends for years and years, and they're going to be there for us, and we can lean on them to get us through these tough times. The next traditional support system that people will always mention are caregivers. Sometimes they're volunteers, sometimes they're paid, but you know they're going to be there for your physical needs in particular. We also have neighbors, and we may not always know our neighbors these days, but I can say that we know them well enough to say, hey, could you drop me off at the drugstore? I need to pick up my medicine, or something simple like that. The next layer of support is healthcare workers. It gets a little tricky there because they are definitely there to help you and support you along all the different therapies and modalities that you have to have. And it's really important that we use them wisely, understanding that they're not going to be our personal counselors through this, but they're going to give us good sounded advice about how to get through this physically. And finally, I'm going to add the final layer that is so personal for everyone, and that is people in your place of worship. And that can be the leaders of your church or your synagogue or your mosque, or it can also just be other members of the congregation that are the wind beneath your wings. And that's the very traditional system that people will introduce to you all the time. But you notice in the view graph, you're in the center. And that's something I really didn't understand. And I'll tell you why. And this is kind of my personal journey through my traditional support systems. And everyone is different, and everyone has their strengths and weaknesses with their systems. But this is some honest talk about what happened. We'll start with family. Oh boy, they're not watching. It's all good. I don't have family in the city that I live. I have a very small family, and to begin with, and they just physically weren't in the same city that I was. A lot of people are retired. You're living somewhere else away from your children and your grandchildren. You don't have friends of 50 years anymore. You're kind of by yourself. And suddenly that family structure crumbles quickly. Phone call's great, but who can be there to take you to radiation 5 days a week for 6 weeks? Not family, not necessarily family. Who's not working that they can take you and take that kind of commitment to make your life work? It's not always family. And I felt really badly, and I couldn't invent family because they are what they are. They live where they live. And so we just have to be real honest about this and say, okay, I don't have the structure and the family support that I need. I need to go to the next level. And the next level would be friends. One of the surprises, really big surprises I had dear friends of 10, 15, 25 years and saying, hey, I'm on this cancer journey. I know we've been through thick and thin together, and here we go again. We're going to do this. Much to my surprise, and not just me, but many, many people out there, we find that those long time friends don't feel comfortable with you anymore. They don't necessarily want to be with you when you're getting chemo. They don't necessarily want to sit with you in the hospital. Nothing bad against that. It's just simply that's how life is. And so I figured out that I needed to be really honest about what my friends were capable of. They're still my friends. That's okay. You don't have to sit through chemo. You don't have to like needles or any of those other things. But I really needed friends. And they came to me in surprising places. I had Zumba friends that would suddenly show up at my house with tea and scones and say, "Tell me about your day and I'll tell you about mine." What? I barely knew this person. We kind of stepped on each other's toes a few times in dance class, but that's about it. And suddenly they became the spark of life and my lifeline to the real world out there. And I had a friend, long-term friend, that simply dropped a bag of food at my front door and rang the doorbell and took off. Oh well, it is what it is. And it's so good to know this didn't just happen to me. And if this happens to you, it's not about you, it's about them and their comfort zone and what they have going on in their lives. And we just have to be real honest with the support system, the traditional one anyway, and say, okay, every now and then a bag of groceries showing up at my door is just fine, but I need more. And that's where you dig deeper. And that's what happens when you let people know you have cancer and see what happens and see what friendships bloom. And they really do bloom. And I never thought I'd say those words, but it's honest and true. So keep that in mind and don't feel bad about family or friends. Next level we're going to go deeper into is caregivers. And there's two different levels of caregivers. There's the volunteers and there's the paid ones. And volunteers, for the most part, will delve into the physical part of our journey with cancer. They will bring groceries, they'll help us bathe, they'll help us just simply get in and out of the bathroom, quite honestly, because sometimes we're too tired or too weak to do it ourselves. And they're lovely and they're wonderful, and our world would not be the same without them. I do have to say that for the most part, if you want that kind of in-depth care, you're going to have to pay. So just be prepared for that. There is a level of caregivers, and it's a little bit different, and that is a lot of the nonprofit groups will provide you rides to your cancer treatment, depending on where you live and the availability. So there's organizations that are absolutely wonderful, such as the American Cancer Society, Can Care, Susan G. Komen Foundation, just to name a few, that will provide some of those rides that you're looking for, or some of that support that is free of charge. And it's so appreciated and so freely given because mostly, and I say 99% of the people that are volunteering have had cancer themselves. So it's not a real shock to them that you have a wig or that you're on chemo or you're not feeling well. They get it, and it's really, really nice. The next level we're going to talk about is neighbors. Okay, we've run through family, friends, and caregivers. Now we talk about neighbors. And neighbors are great. They may not be our best friends. We don't always party with them or spend holidays with them. But if we're lucky, we've known them for years. We get to exchange hellos, and we know they're there for us if we need them and they need us. And if you have that, fantastic. Please take advantage of that. Enjoy that friendship. And feel free to lean a little bit and say, hey, would you mind picking up some groceries for me or for my family, because I just don't feel up to it this week. Nothing wrong with that, and that's fantastic. Unfortunately, our new lifestyles in this 2023 and beyond is that we don't always know our neighbors. Some of us have retired, moved to condos, moved to high-rise buildings where we really don't know anybody. And there's nothing like an icebreaker to say, hey, you haven't met me and I have cancer. Would you go buy me some groceries? We know that doesn't work. So when people throw out this traditional support system, of course you have neighbors. And if you don't, you should feel really badly that you can't ask them to do these things for you. Don't feel badly. It's okay. You're not the only one that doesn't know the person above, below, and beside you. It's all okay. The other thing is you don't always like your neighbors. How's that for honest? And you wouldn't dream of asking them. That's okay too, because we're going to go another layer in and find some more support. And that is our places of worship. And that is another wonderful traditional place. And that is, I think, one of the most appropriate places where we can ask for emotional support and spiritual support. And they kind of combine at one point in our journey with cancer. So please feel free to contact. And there's usually a prayer group. There is the senior person that does that. And there's volunteers that may come out and visit you. Take advantage of each and every one of them. They love to serve. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, here's a personal story, and it's the truth. Don't get sick over the holidays because my cancer was diagnosed 2 weeks before Christmas. And I found it really hard while everyone was preparing for Christmas services, Christmas holidays, Christmas sermons, to say, oh, and I have a few extra hours for the next 3 weeks that I'm going to go visit Carolyn in the hospital or visit her at home or see how she's doing. It didn't happen. It honestly didn't happen. And I remember feeling kind of left out and devastated about it. And that's okay too, because what I found was another church. And I found a brand new home, and it has been my home. And within 2 weeks of being in this new place with my friends and family, and I'll say the word Unity of Houston, everybody knew my name, they knew my situation, they liked my wig, and they were praying for me. And I never felt so welcomed in my life. So when I look at traditional support systems, I realize that they all have their pluses and they all have their downsides. And it's you. You're in the center of that circle. It's up to you to decide what's working and what's not. Who's working and who's not. Not all caregivers are going to make you feel comfortable. That's okay. Find somebody else. Not all family makes you feel comfortable. Some people will simply want to hear all your bad news and just say goodbye. Okay. And one of the new markers that I have in my life with my traditional support system is to say to myself, when I'm done talking to this person or visiting with this person or sharing with this person, do I feel elevated? Do I feel energy? Do I feel better? Or do I feel drained? That's a real marker that somebody within your traditional support system maybe needs to get replaced with somebody else. And I say replace, you can't replace your family. Please continue to give them birthday presents and Christmas cards and holiday cards and Mother's Day cards. Please do that. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm simply saying that you're in a new space. You've never been before, and quite honestly, they probably never have either. They're getting used to this whole big new world out there. Your world is upside down, and in a way, so is their friendship world, so is their family world. So I'm giving you the go-ahead to say you don't have to answer the phone if it's somebody that doesn't add to your day, to your life, and to your spirit. That's okay. You have my permission to do that because you're going to feel better in the long run. And that's called total honesty. So when I say, who's helping you navigate your emotions, you're responsible for that. I didn't realize that. And I thought I had to let everybody in who happened to want to come in. And if I just took the blows and the punches and the verbal whatever I had to, you don't have to do that. You create what you need for this time in your life. Whew. I feel better already. And what I'm going to ask you to do as part of this particular talk is get out a piece of paper and ask you, what is your traditional support system? And who is your traditional support system? I want names, I want faces, I want pictures. And then I want you to go through that and decide, yes, that's working. No, that's not. Maybe I need to dig deeper somewhere. Maybe I need to recontact somebody I hadn't talked to in a long time. I found old friendships, the people I hadn't even seen, sometimes stepped up to the plate in an emotional way that I didn't feel people that lived nearby did because they were so busy with their lives. But when you reconnect with an old friend, you make that time and you catch up and you make a space for them and they make a space for you. And that's just a beautiful, wonderful, lovely thing. So your challenge today, everybody, is to write out who is in your traditional support system. Are they working? Do you like them? No, I'm kidding. You can leave them in whether you like them or not, but are they working for you? That is the bottom line, because that's what this journey is about. For the first time in your life, you really do have to find out who is your emotional support system, how they fit in, and where the weaknesses so that you can add new people, new places, new things to make you strong and healthy and happy from alive to thrive in this journey that you're on. Namaste. Thank you.